From the Beaver County Auto Studios, it's another Penguins Live chat here on Pittsburgh Sports Live, Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Hello, I'm Dan Kingerski. A lot to unpack from last night's Pittsburgh Penguins 3-0 drubbing of the Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't know what the adjective I want to use is. Let me adjust this a little better. I don't know because it was a bit of a pounding. At least some of the Penguins' lines. The Penguins' third line with Nick Bjugstad and Patrick Hornquist. In the first half of the game, Dominic Simone. The second half, it was Jared McCann. That line was just, I'm out of adjectives for it. I'm into the adverbs and Mad Libs and just saying, holy, they were really good. Nick Bjugstad, the last two games, has played out of his skates. If this is what the Penguins got, if this is Nick Bjugstad, oh boy, the Penguins have themselves a long-term keeper at third-line center. He is under contract until 2021. Then you see the water bug with a little bit of snarl to his game that Jared McCann is. And McCann up on the top line to help Sidney Crosby, down on the third line rather, to add a little jump the offensive side of the third line. Not that they needed it. There was a little bit made last night. And I want to get a lot into the Columbus game last night, look ahead to tomorrow night. I want to get into those things here on the live chat. Plus, of course, I want you to use the message board. So, to be honest, this being the second one of the week, and Fridays are my absolute crash day. I am ready to dig a hole 6 feet deep, just lay down for a few days by Friday. Those 3 a.m. mornings and 6 a.m. alarm clocks, they don't mix so well. So by Friday, I'm usually just about ready to be tarred and feathered. I'm sharing this on Facebook now. I want as many of you to join us as possible at all times. So there. It is shared with everyone. Thanks for all dialing up here. Let me see who's here. Oh, I can't move. There it is. Hey, Mutation is back, along with the NES Addict. Good to see the regulars hopping in already as well. But let's jump back. I think you may have gathered, if you saw any of my work from last night, that I was gobsmacked by the performance of the Penguins' third line. It was superior to the Crosby line. I know maybe not as dynamic on the stat sheet, the scoring sheet rather, but every other metric. They dominated, they controlled the puck. I am trying to get my laptop to sync up with the iPad here. And just, at least today's technical snafu is that I can't do it. I have no idea why. But that's today's little goof. I do want to talk a bit about them. And here you can see after McCann fed Bjugstad in the slot, at the end of just a fantastic shift from the trio. Schultz at the point, great cross-ice pass through the seam to McCann, who was stepping into the slot himself, and it kind of confused the Columbus defenders. I actually have a great picture of it on my laptop. You'll have to just take my word for it, I guess. The point being, Bjugstad, kind of got behind the defenders. They turned to McCann. Bjugstad popped out of traffic and squirmed around the sticks and unleashed a bullet. I mean, that was a 6'5", 215-pound wrist shot that he snapped through Joonas Korpisalo. I thought that was the backbreaker. I thought Columbus had some pretty good zone time in the second period, even if the stats didn't bear that out. When the Penguins got the second goal, Columbus knew they were toast. I mean, they absolutely knew it. You saw maybe some of you who watched the broadcast a little, closely. I assume they were talking about it. What was it? 11 minutes before Columbus had their first shot on goal in the third period, and that's because the Penguins' third line were just backbreakers, literally. and figuratively. Well, I guess maybe metaphorically and figuratively. There was a moment, 7:36 into the third period, when Hornquist on the forecheck went in against two Blue Jackets. Shoved one to the ice, knocked the other to the ice. One got up, he knocked them down again, and took the puck. It was as Brooks Orpian as any shift I've seen in a long time, but that was that third line last night. They're relishing it. I keep rolling past Bukestad in the locker room, and it's kind of funny when the more media gathers around him, his voice gets a little softer. It hasn't been since college that he's had any more than a couple of people covering him. I was happy to inform him he's now the all-time leading Bukestad scorer in Pittsburgh Penguins history. For those of you who don't know, his uncle Scott played 24 games for the Penguins back in 1988 and 89, scored 3 goals. So last night, Bukestad passed Uncle Scott, and he got a bit of a kick out of that. So I'm sure there was some family texting going on today, maybe a bit of chirping. The Penguins have it rock solid now. And what you're going to see, and here's why I wrote what I wrote today. If you haven't, check it out on PittsburghHockeyNow.com. The Penguins are legit. They are Stanley Cup contenders. And I'll fully flush this out today. Hot streaks come and go. Offensive streaks, you get hot, you get cold. Sometimes you're fighting the puck. Sometimes the puck is bouncing off you into the net. Those things, the ebbs and flows of a season. Playing the way the Penguins are playing. Tough. Simple. It's those things, those things don't go away. I'm going to try to get my laptop connected here because I've got so much stuff I want to show you that I don't understand why I can't. Because the Penguins' puck support and their work deep in their own zone last night. I've got some great stuff of Zach Aston Reese protecting the front of his net, going behind the net to win a puck battle, and then making a 4-foot breakout pass. Just touching it away from Matt Duchene to Zach Trotman, the defenseman, who moved it along. And off went the Penguins, Malkin, and Kessel. It was truly a sight to behold. Those are the things I want to show you. And if we don't get it today, maybe I'll do a whole special little Pens quickie on them. Let's see if I can do it now. Drum roll, please. Nope. So it goes. So we talked about the Penguins' third line. I do want to give this guy some props. Very unheralded performances the last couple games. Like I talked about, going low in his own zone. Doing that dirty work that Evgeny Malkin and Phil Kessel aren't necessarily... Well, Malkin can do it really well. Kessel sort of pulls him out of that zone. But by having Czar on that line, it allows Malkin to play a little more freely and a little more forward. That's something that can't be underestimated. And he's fast. He is a better skater today than he was even, I think, 2 months ago. Jesse Marshall and I were going back and forth on Twitter last night, not in an adversarial way, agreeing with each other. I think we both noticed on at least a couple moments, like, where did he come from? Aston Reese now has a step in his stride, which is forcing defenders. Before, I think maybe at his heaviest, maybe perhaps there was a silver lining to the summer of soup. I think he's a few pounds down, maybe a few pounds different might be the appropriate word. Defensemen were able to front him, even on the rush. going to kind of stay in front of him. Now he's got a bit of a speed burst to him. They have to turn and defend him. When they have to turn the hips, that opens up so much more ice. That is an incalculable benefit and a step forward for Zach Aston Reese. And you know, when I was talking with my hands, you couldn't see it. I was saying, Zach Aston Reese going to get that hop in a step. When a defenseman has to turn like this to defend because Aston Reese is coming up the left wing, that leaves the ice, so much more ice over here open. Now you can see where my hands are going. Let me get to the chat board here. Otherwise, I could probably talk for an hour. I really have enjoyed the last handful of Penguins games. I'm sure you have too. They've got points in 6 straight. I've enjoyed them for a little bit of a different reason, in a big picture sense, and I'll get into that. Let me hit the chat board here. Brian, hey Dan, great showing last night by the Penguins. Makes me miss Flower, as this was always his time to shine. Well, it's Matt Murray's time as well. I think it was Jonathan Bomboli. Brian asked him last night. Actually, that very same question. Hey, do you kind of enjoy this time of year, getting closer to the playoffs and, the intensity ramps up? Is this kind of your time of year? And Murray goes, nah, man, I love hockey. All of it. And just, we all kind of had a chuckle. That was Matt shutting down a writer. He shuts down as many writers and broadcasters as he does shooters. I know that he goes home and laughs like hell sometimes, but we all kind of had a good smile over it. Let's see here. Hey, Keith. Yes, 27. That's Bukestad. Made a tremendous shot adjustment there. Used the screen because the players didn't adjust. Great shot, great move. Agree on the third line last night. Yeah, they've been getting stronger and stronger. Look at if you're into the advanced stats, hop on to naturalstattrick.com and check out Nick Bukestad's game log of the last 6 games. It's a straight shot uphill. His Corsi, his scoring chance ratio, better and better and better every game. The only blip was that Montreal game when he was defending more. Other than that, 5 of 6 games, superb. And last night, an 88% scoring chance ratio with Dominic Simone, 89 maybe, and 82 with Jared McCann. It just can't say enough good things about his work. Let's see here. Going through. Everyone's saying hello to each other. I'm glad we've got a bit of a community going on these live chats. I dig that. The Addict says, I think we are ready if we can repeat last night's performance on Saturday. You know what? Maybe that's a good time. Thanks, Addict. That's a good segue to get into why I've enjoyed the last 5 or 6 games. Even if they lose tomorrow night in Columbus, it does not diminish the last 5 or 6 games unless they completely lay an egg and come out and try to play circus hockey. But why I've enjoyed them, it is because Mike Sullivan has been kind of standing at the pulpit for 18 months now, but really pounding the pulpit for, let's call it since September. He knew he had a group last year that wasn't really ready to dial in and listen. He knew it. And so instead of going too heavy and losing his team, I think he did the best he could. He and Recchi and Martin, they just did the best they could. This year, they got hard on their players. But the players weren't necessarily all ready to listen at the same time. You've been hearing Sullivan say, simplify the game. Take the plays that were there. Play on the right side of the puck. Play the right way. You've been hearing these coach speak isms for months now. And you'd see the Crosby line and the fourth line perform, and the second and third line completely wet the bed, right? you've been seeing these things. And you've been like, well, they're not listening to Sullivan. Well, they weren't ready to. But I knew Sullivan was on the right track. I wouldn't have ever thought of it on my own. I wouldn't have ever realized the true evolution of the game, I think, until he began to talk about it early in the season. And he even used those words, the evolution of the game, where the game is headed, maybe is exactly what he said. This is what he has been building towards, and Jim Rutherford has been supplying him with players for all season. This is why they got Bukestad and McCann. This is why they were asking Winnipeg about Adam Lowry. Not because those were the best they could get, but because they were the best players the Penguins could get that was going to fit this sort of retro hybrid evolution. The game is getting bigger, the game is getting stronger, angrier, and tougher, but it's also played very quickly. The Adam McQuaids aren't as useful right now because they're getting skated. So Rutherford gets a guy like Goodbranson, who's much faster than anybody gave him credit for. He's a much better skater. I mean, he's not Chris Letang. Let's not kid ourselves, but he's so much better. And I'm answering your question, Brian. Just kind of I'm kind of pulling everything together here. I'm trying to wrap one string around all of this to create one big picture. And this has been the evolution that Sullivan has been pushing. And like a sinner, this is Friday, right? You can't eat meat today if you're Catholic. I still adhere to that, even if I find some of the organized activities a bit caricature. I still adhere to the Lenten things because it my own personal preference. We're not getting into it, I guess. That's when what a sinner turns to God when he's in his hour of need. Well, the Penguins finally turned to Sullivan in their hour of need. Letang and Dumoulin go down. And like a light switch, the Penguins say, oh, okay. And they all bought in unison, in mass. Jack Johnson was kind of chuckling a little bit about rallying around the defense. He was talking about that again yesterday as the national folks rolled in. We're asking questions. I think Johnson has the most compelling story right now, and he's put his finger on maybe the pulse in a way no one else has. And he says the Penguins have rallied around the defenseman. I think the Penguins have rallied around Sullivan and the message a bit. Maybe the defensemen are the front men, but now the team is playing team defense. And that little 4-foot pass from Aston Reese, guys battling in front of the net like that guy. And guys battling in front of the offensive net like that guy. Doesn't matter if he scores goals. Sometimes just standing on your own is all you need. Like that guy who's getting pretty close. That's my grandson, Leo. And I can't wait until he's old enough I can show him or maybe even take him to a game in Columbus when they all yell, Leo, for the national anthem. I digress. I do have a name. Let's see. Oh, there we go. I can pop it on the screen. All nice and pretty like that. So you get where I'm going with this. The Penguins have, because they needed to, have rallied and circled the wagons. What other cliche can I use? They're in the trench together now. And the reason I've enjoyed the game so much is they've played so textbook, simple, fast, physical. Man, when Goodbranson pancaked Boone Jenner last night, I almost let out a guffaw. I haven't seen a Penguins defenseman do that in years. I mean, Johnson is tough. Jack Johnson has waylaid a few people this year. Who was it? Nugent Hopkins. A few weeks ago, Johnson lit up. But I just enjoy hockey, and I enjoy tough hockey. Watching Goodbranson battle in front of the net last night was, to use a sexist term on International Women's Day, it was a man's game in that 5 or 7 feet area last night. and I was enjoying watching. Josh Anderson for Columbus had a really strong game. He was in there giving as good as he got. He was pushing the Penguins' defense. That's a player, he and Cam Atkinson of Columbus. Those two guys I would take on my team 10 days a week, without question. I dig how they play the game and how honest they play the game. And I enjoyed watching Goodbranson and Johnson having to battle in front of the net. But then it sprang outward. It's amazing how much better Matt Murray looks when he faces 25 shots, isn't it? I think Bob Grove, stick tap to Bob Grove, wrote for the Fan website today. Matt Murray is back. Well, yeah, I don't know that he really left, but certainly the Penguins' defensive effort left him. That's for sure. Okay, let me get back to the message board here. Okay. Oh, can I put a link to that Corsi stat below? Keith, go to naturalstattrick.com and just look up Nick Bukestad. It would take me too long to do it here. Hey, Jim. Let's see here. Medina says, Dan, looking ahead to the playoffs, and I think someone hit this once before. You didn't get a chance to talk about it much. Who do you see the Black Aces as being coming up from Wilkes-Barre, Scranton? Interesting. I think of course, we've been all focused on the playoffs and the playoff race and seeing if the team could find their true identity. That I do have news. I know one player that the Penguins are bringing to development camp. He's one of Casper Bjorkquist's teammates up in Providence. I haven't written the story yet, and I've kind of been putting it off. We know that he's been invited to do so, and as will accept. Oh boy, Black Aces. Not many, is there? You're going to see Adam Johnson. You're going to see maybe William DePauli. Maybe, right? Ethan Prowl will be on there, but don't get too excited about that. As I've explained before, Ethan is a good AHL defenseman. If they have to dip into him, they're in real trouble. I got nothing else for you, really. I don't think... maybe Jan Draws will be on the Black Aces since he signed his 3-year entry-level deal. That's another name I think we can probably toss in there. Yeah, Slim Pickens. That's for sure. Kalen Addison is not on his ELC yet, nor is... I don't think Philip Hollander could anyway because he's over in Europe. Maybe if they signed him to the ELC, right? He could... Bjorkquist would lose eligibility. I don't think he can. It's why he couldn't participate in development camp as well, is because he's still in the NCAA. Okay. Let's see here. Tyler. It says, Bukestad is the third-line center we were hoping Brassard could have been. Not necessarily play style, but fitting the Penguin system and playing good hockey. He bolsters that third-line center down. What was that song by Garth Brooks? Sorry, I'm not a country guy, but I used to have to be a country DJ. Quick aside, you know what my country DJ name was? Joey Buttafrago. I was the evening guy on the Froggy chain in Pittsburgh when I was young, and I hated having to take a frog name. What a stupid concept that is. And I apologize, Key Market Broadcasting, Forever Broadcasting, and all you Froggy owners. I don't mean to disparage you, but what a goofy thing to let people be themselves. So in my rebellion, in 2001, remember Joey Buttafuoco and Mary Fisher, or what was her name? He was having an affair with a 16-year-old girl, and she shot his wife for him. So I made that my Froggy name, Joey Buttafrago. I have a bit of a dark sense of humor, and to their credit, they didn't stop me from doing this. So for 2 years, I was Joey. Garth Brooks' song, anyway. Speaking back to Nick Bukestad. Garth Brooks' song was God's Greatest Gifts or Unanswered Prayers. What if the Penguins had to lose out on Derek Brassard to get somebody who fits them much better, like Nick Bukestad? They want to go big, they want to go heavy, they want to go fast, they want to play down low, they want to hang on to pucks. They want that to be their identity. Could Derek Brassard have done that? I don't think so. Unanswered prayers, perhaps. In fact, they didn't even realize it. They wanted Jared McCann, did the Penguins, to be their third-line center. I wrote a bit about that yesterday because every question to Mike Sullivan and even Jim Rutherford a little bit, hey, your third-line center, Nick Bukestad, was always and immediately met with a stock answer about versatility. Well, he can play on the wing or he can play center. Well, that's not what I asked. I asked about him playing center. Well, he can play on center or at the wing. Okay, I see where this is going. It wasn't until the Stadium Series game, which was one game after San Jose. And in that San Jose game, Jared McCann's third line had a 0% scoring chance ratio. Bukestad gets popped in there without Phil Kessel this time. Lo and behold, looky here. Could be, right? Yep, Tyler likes watching Bukestad forecheck. There's a Bukestad was talking a bit about last night. Florida likes to send 2 forecheckers religiously into the offensive zone. Just go get them. The Penguins kind of have one and a holdback. The first man goes after the puck. The second forechecker takes away the pass, the outlet pass, or tries to get in a passing lane to make it more difficult. Whether that buys the forechecker an extra moment, whatever it is, that second forechecker has a few things to read, a bit of a checklist to go over. Well, Bukestad just likes to go flying in there, and he forgets his place sometimes. So he did that at least once last night. Just came barreling in with Jared McCann. I thought they were Florida Panthers for a moment. But, it's nice watching a guy who enjoys a forechecker. Daniel, my boy from Brazil. Hiya. Yeah, the NES addict is cheering for Goodbranson to thrive so hard and so happy about it. Truthfully, the blogosphere has done more to skyrocket my traffic this year. Maybe we can all come together after this year. But the blogosphere and the noise got so loud and so off track, I think, in the Penguins fan base this year that a lot of fans went, wait a second. It's not Jack Johnson's fault every single time he's on the ice. Wait a second. Goodbranson can't be this bad. Jim Rutherford can't be this stupid. And so I think there was a reaction to how vitriolic things got. And every step of the way. Look, last year in March, Matt Geitka, Shelley Anderson, and I, that was our first full month together. And our traffic was about half of what February's traffic was last year. Today is March 8th. I have already reached last year's March traffic. That's what insane growth curve we're on at Pittsburgh hockey now. By the way, here's Bukestad a little bit getting ready. And I do thank you all for helping us grow. Daniel says Trotman has been very solid. He has. The best compliment I can give Zach Trotman is you don't notice him very often, do you? I think that's why he's playing over Riikola, because you would notice Riikola in good and bad moments. And Trotman's more of a battler in front, too. Trotman is helping to build that wall. Build that wall in front of the net. I know if I start doing political jokes, I'm going to lose half of you. Even the half that agree with what I'm saying would get mad. I'm doing political jokes. The other half that doesn't agree with the joke would get mad. So I'd lose all of you. But this is what happens when you aren't part of the partisan deal. But Trotman is a better battler in front than Juuso Riikola, and I think that's why he's playing. He's also a better penalty killer. And the Penguins' PK really needs all the help it can get. It was top 5 until about a month ago. 3 weeks ago. They've slid to 18th before last night's game. They've down like 4 percentage points. They were like, 84.1? I think was maybe close to their zenith, maybe 84.3. And now they're at 80.1. They really need to pick that up. Because let me tell you something. The hockey adage, the hockey thinking is the the descending order of Stanley Cup success. 5-on-5 scoring, penalty killing, power play. In that order. You can win a Stanley Cup with a mediocre or a poor power play if your penalty killing and your 5-on-5 are good. And in fact, even if your power play is great, ask the Penguins last year, because you get 2 power play chances a game in most series, in most games. So that 2006 aberration when the Penguins had like 50 or 60 power play chances in 22 games, it was a bit of an aberration. Maybe they had 22 power play goals in 2016. The memory gets a little bit fuzzy, but you know what I'm saying. They had an inordinate number of power play chances in their first Stanley Cup. That's not the exception, or that's not the rule. That's the exception. Joey asks, why do they say Leo in Columbus? That's the anthem's singer's name. His name is Leo. So the PA announcer says, with the national anthem, here's Leo. I forget his last name. The place goes, Leo! I love Columbus's anthem. I love Washington's anthem when they yell, Rockets red glare. Dig Chicago's anthem, too. Okay, Ron says, Dan, you are right. That's why I noticed this. Way to get my attention, Ron, whenever you say I'm right. They have circled wagons, simple, fast, physical Penguins get Letang. Look out, skill comes in play when you play simple. Very, very well phrased, Ron. Skill comes into play when you play simple. Yeah, it's just a framework. When you play simply, you get those one-on-one battles, and the Penguins have more skill. So they're going to win more of those one-on-one battles, right? Regarding the Black Aces, Bluger and Trotman. Well, yeah, I think Trotman may be rostered. I don't know that he'll be a Black Ace. I think he may have jumped, depending on Ruhwedel's health, to the 7th defenseman spot. Yeah, Jim Trotman's reliable, consistent. He's not risking anything, so he's not getting beat, and I think that's all the Penguins need from him. Move the puck quickly. He was intercepted a couple times against Columbus. The reality is his ceiling is 7th defenseman in the NHL. But, man, physically he can battle. Let me check here. When the Tang and Rust Mata come back, the team will be much harder to deal with. Yep. Amy Fisher. Thank you, Joey. Yeah, it was Joey Buttafuoco, Amy Fisher. Mary Jo was the wife. That's it. What happens when Rust and Mata come back? That's pretty simple. I think Garrett Wilson is out of the lineup. And defense, yeah, Mata would come back. Well, let's see here. Letang will replace Trotman. So you have Dumoulin, Trotman, Johnson, Schultz, Pettersson. Well, yeah, you might see a return of Pettersson Johnson as Mata plays with Schultz. I don't want to see Jack Johnson return to the right side. I don't want to see that, but I don't see any other alternative off the top of my head. Do you? I don't. They like Pettersson a lot. They're obviously going to insert Mata somewhere in there. Maybe you see the return of Mata Riikola. But then what do you do with Pettersson or Jack Johnson? I don't know. Sullivan's going to make a gut call on this, and that's all there's going to be to it. I'd like to tell you what he will do based on analysis and reasoning. He's going to make a gut call, plain and simple. What about Simone? Yeah, he's going to stay. Look, those little plays that you don't pick up, Simone makes them all. You'd love him to score. Just not going to be his game. And Simone does more for his line than does Garrett Wilson. Teddy Bluger is on the short end of the stick. He played, 7 minutes last night? Garrett Wilson played less than 5. I don't know if it's a trust thing with Bluger. I haven't gotten a good enough look at him in this spotty play. The Penguins' fourth line last night was pinned into their own zone. I don't know if they actually registered a shot on goal. They defended very well. Plus side, they defended very well. Downside, they had to defend very well. Okay. Oh, Daniel says, I am guilty. I yelled so many profanities when the good Branson trade came through. Y'all got to trust me a little bit. Trust me just a little bit. I'm not saying trust me implicitly or blindly. I'm not saying give me blind faith. I'm saying maybe just consider what I tell you some of these times, okay? Because I'm not ever going to be emotional about it. I'm not looking through it through that same lens that you are, and I'll give you this straight truth as much as I possibly can. I want to see this picture again. That's my little guy Leo. There he is. He is so happy to be standing. His head's like 6 times the size of his body, too. Just like his dad. Let's talk a little bit about Phil Kessel, shall we? And here he is. There is one entity which can derail the Penguins. That entity is Malkin Kessel. Or Kessel Malkin. Although I like Malkin Kessel. Say it one syllable. Say it real fast. Malkin Kessel. Their struggles, kids, have humbled him. Humbled each of them. Malkin had to go through hell and come out on the other side. He had to change and adapt. Phil Kessel had to eat a giant, humble in a bun. He had to. And you've seen Phil Kessel play something as closely resembling a 200-foot game as he's ever had to play in a Penguins sweater. Not since late 2016 when HBK hit their stride. And even then, he didn't have to because Bonino and Hagelin took care of it. Phil Kessel is actually playing something close to complete hockey, and he had to do it because he wasn't scoring. I think having to go through the wilderness, both Malkin and Kessel, will have changed their outlook a little bit. The next time they start playing circus hockey, wanting to play wide open and eschewing simple plays, I mean, they're still not very good at making the simple plays, but you can see the effort. You can see that they're efforting to do such. If they lose their way and Sullivan puts a foot to them, kind of puts the boots on, puts a foot to them, they're going to be much more receptive now because they're all being rewarded with success. They're being rewarded with goals. They're being rewarded with praise and all of the positive tangibles and intangibles, they're being rewarded. So that's kind of, but if they get stubborn again, That's the one thing that can derail the Penguins, because other teams have capitalized on their sloppiness. When they get sloppy, they gift wrap offensive chances for the opponents, and that builds momentum against the Penguins, that builds goals against the Penguins, and that it kind of creates this gap in the lineup. When the third line, the fourth line, or the Crosby line is having to start over again. And when that happens, you don't get that sustained offensive pressure. You don't wear down the opponent. The speed factor is mitigated a little bit, because the speed really takes effect after you've worn the other team down, hit them a few times, try to skate past them, make them breathe a bit heavier. That's when it happens. And when you're on your heels, you're not making them defend and breathe heavy. So Malkin Kessel has to keep this up. Malksel. I like Malkin Kessel better, but NES addict, you're free to do it. Let's see here. Brian has to throw this out. The Penguins are an amazing organization. They just donated an entire set of hockey gear to a woman from Brian's province, Newfoundland, who was in a car accident with a transport truck on her way to a senior hockey game. Wow. I hadn't heard that, Brian. If you can, link me to that story. I'd love to maybe put that on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Even links to the local newspaper there, if you can, if you think about it. What did I think of the no-goal 5-on-3 for 155? Yeah, they hit the post. They had good pressure. It's something you want to see them score on, but look at it this way. No shorthanded goal? Oh, man, thank you, Mutation. Dude, wildly appreciated. We do have the super chat enabled. So if you want to pay to chat, if you want to kick $1 into the can, it's appreciated. I'm not going to shake the can. I do this to promote Pittsburgh Hockey Now, promote the Pittsburgh Sports Live channel, and that's why I do it. And because I do it, because I can, and I enjoy the hell out of this. Jim says it's too soon to make a judgment long-term on Goodbranson. Trade looked bad, but he's played well in the handful of games he's been here. Time will tell. Jim, let me tell you something about Goodbranson and why. Yeah, 6 games, too early to tell. You get that adrenaline bump. You get all of that stuff. There are several reasons for optimism. One, look at Goodbranson's physical skills. I don't mean his toughness. I mean, look at his skating and his vision. He is a better player than he was in Vancouver because it matches his, him. The Penguin system matches him a little better. I actually, if you checked out Pittsburgh Hockey Now yesterday, I was talking to him about that specifically and asking, if the extra options are adding traction. Essentially, what's happening with Goodbranson. You come into a new environment, you feel better, right? That breath of fresh air is a good first start. Then you hit the ice and you realize, oh, this is so cool. It's like getting a brand new job, and they've tailored it to your strengths and skills. And the new job is a lot more fun. So you take another big breath, and you feel a little better about yourself, and then you're good at it. Then you have some early success. Then you spread your wings a little more and you have a little more success. And all of these things become building blocks. And it becomes momentum to become a better hockey player. This is kind of the Justin Schultz effect, if you will. And Goodbranson's going through that right now. He and also, more reason for optimism, look at Columbus last night. I mean, for a divisional war last night, were there really any cheap shots? Were there really, was there really anything out of line like previous Columbus Penguins games? And that's not just because Goodbranson was there. Don't get me wrong. But Florida, Montreal, Goodbranson was present for the garbage. And he said, okay, knock it off. And the other teams went at him, showed some patience, showed some poise, and things didn't escalate. The Penguins weren't bullied. Things didn't escalate. That's just it in the nutshell. And any garbage kind of comes to him. Donation hype, yeah. I don't even know how that top chat thing works, but I do appreciate it. Yeah, I know I could have money monthly if I did Patreon. Well, Mutation, I should give you a subscription to the website. It'd just be much better. Then you get all the exclusive content as well. Thank you, Brian. He tweeted me that article. Buzzy asks if I would rather see Simone or McCann on the top line. I don't necessarily think it matters in a broad scale. Whoever has the hop that night. Look, McCann isn't a finisher either. Let's not get fooled by his 5 goals. He's a Brian Rustian player in the making. I think Rust even has right now better hands than McCann. McCann reminds me a lot of 2017 Brian Rust. Not the 2016 bottle rocket that just took off in a straight line and didn't know how to pass or move the puck, but not the 2019 version that has shown some pretty slick mitts. McCann is somewhere in between. He's only 22. We'll see where he winds up. Oh, cool. I have some more coffee left. Hang on. What Simone does, and it's not a coincidence, that whatever line Dominic Simone is on, they see a spike in scoring chances, in Corsi. Even if he's not scoring, his line mates are. So what do you want me to tell you about that? When Simone has it going, you put him up there. And when McCann has it going, maybe you put him up there. Although last night, the third line had it going, so they dropped McCann down to the third line and just created a super line, or so they thought there. What are the pairings when Tanger and Mata come back? Yeah, we've been over this, Buzzy. It's going to be tough because you very well might see a Pettersson-Johnson pairing again. And Jack Johnson is so diminished on that right side. He did yeoman's work. He did his best. But I don't see how Sullivan gets around having a lefty on that third pairing when Mata comes back. Although, maybe we should wait until Mata is close before we have this conversation. It could be weeks. And quite frankly, if it's into the playoffs before Mata is ready, maybe you don't see him, pending the Penguins situation. Maybe you don't. Thank you for the subscription, love. By the way, Mutation, I appreciate the love for the move. I almost finished my first room. I have got bins of memorabilia and just stuff from having a big house and having a child and having bins of baby blankets and Blues Clues dogs and baby books, and I've just not like 16 millimeter movies or what, like those little tiny VHS tapes. I've got way too much stuff, so this week has just been garbage bag after garbage bag of sentimental things that you can't throw away, but you're never, ever going to take out again, and really kind of condensing that into just the core. I built my dining room table finally last night. I reassembled it. So I have one room kind of done. What a 3-month ordeal this has been. During hockey season, mind you. as well. All right, let me get back to the chat board here. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. By the way, what I could use, some fish fry recommendations. Now, for the recommendation to be legit, 1, I need old ladies cooking it. I don't want to go to some restaurant. I can go to the Needs Hotel. I think they're still open, or maybe they just closed on March 1st, Upper Lawrenceville. Or I can go to Primanti's for a great fish sandwich, the Oyster House here in Market Square. That's where the studios are at. I'm overlooking Market Square now. And actually, I think I can see into one of the Penguins' apartments. Not that I joke. That sounded pretty creepy, didn't it? But for the fish fry to be legit, it's got to be, I want to see old church ladies cooking, and it's got to be in the city. That means no Mount Lebanon, no in the North Hills. I'm not taking a bus to a fish fry, but I'm not driving either. Or it's got to be on the T line, where I think St. Anne's is on the T line, kind of towards South Hills Village, right? I can hop off the T, go have a sandwich, hop back on the T, and then hit Southern Tier for refreshments. That is what I'm looking for. So let me know where I can get good fish fry, okay? Let me get back into the thing here. Crosby, any chances at Hart and Selke? Yes. I think his Selke chances will depend on his lack of Hart chances. If that makes any sense to you, nice guy. And here's what I mean. If the writers in the Toronto Echo Chamber, of which I was once a semi-proud member, or at least I had a front row seat. How's that? I don't think I got to actually influence anybody, but if they decide they don't want to give Crosby legit Hart consideration, you'll see a groundswell for Selke consideration. Or if they decide they want to give him Hart Trophy consideration, they'll forget about the Selke. Although, check out PittsburghHockeyNow.com, because Shelly Anderson asked that very question. Hey, Sid. And she got a couple minutes with Sid exclusively. So you're not going to see this conversation anywhere else. And quite frankly, I don't think there's another reporter to whom Sid speaks so informally to as he does to Shelly Anderson. I think Sid gives Shelly, for obvious reasons, you know, she's a seasoned pro, but there's just something about Shelly that makes her a great reporter, and you can just talk to her. And I think Sid does. So check out PittsburghHockeyNow.com. It's a free preview of the PHN Extra article she did on that very topic. In fact, let me see if I can get there and tweet it out, or put it even on here on the message board to you. What did I do with the McKenzie brothers? They are sitting on my dining room table. The next time I have a few minutes, I'm going to drive over here, and I'm going to set them up probably right here, maybe. Doug and Bob, take off, eh? Yo, it's Rosie. Kyle asks, when can we clinch? Well, Kyle, I don't think you and I are playing. Tyler says Jesse Marshall put out an article about Crosby for Selke and amongst skaters with 800 minutes of 5-on-5. He was top 15 in all metrics and top 5 in a few. Crosby for Selke is real. Sure it is, Tyler. I want to give a stick tap to Jason Mackey. I think Jason was the first to kind of push the Selke as the consolation prize for the Hart. But then Josh Yohe last week for the Athletic went there. Crosby for the Hart Trophy. So it's probably one or the other. I don't see writers giving both. I just think there too many writers would see it as unfair or being a fanboy if they gave Crosby both. So they won't. Mutation, I'm not going to Crafton. Although, no, but I guess I could stop at the, what's the place with all the beers in Crafton? There's one downtown here, too. Oh, darn it. The one downtown is always dead. It's at the end of the cultural district. I have no idea how they're still in business down here. All the Belgian beer. Anyway. Best fish fries I'm going to have to drive to? Nope. I guess it's St. Anne's then. That I'm going to stagger into my little Nepalese restaurant and get some food from Nepal and get the veggie option instead of chicken, which might be against my religion too. Wee Kaken says, I am absolutely confident in the Penguins. They're going to get at least the second round of the playoffs. Lots of our Penguins players have had a weird funk. I see them returning to form and confident. Yeah, they had to suck. Wee Kaken. The Penguins had to suck before they turned to Mike Sullivan's message, which is, let's be honest, radically different from what's in their heart and what's in their core. They all want to play that fast rush style. And this adding that whole component to playing hard, down low, and holding on to pucks is kind of greasy, grimy hockey. And the Penguins had to be convinced that it was successful, that it worked, that they could do it. And it wasn't until these last 5 or 6 games here that the message has resonated with them. It also didn't hurt that now the new guys have been here and are being integrated, and their defense is just tough as nails. With Johnson and Goodbranson. Oh, that's who I forgot in the pairings, isn't it? I had forgot Goodbranson. So if you're right side defenders because of the right-handed deal, why didn't you all catch me on this, right? So if you go Letang, Schultz, Goodbranson, then you go with Dumoulin, Johnson, and Mata. Or Dumoulin, Mata, Schultz, Dumoulin, Mata, Pedersen. But needless to say, the Penguins will have 9 defensemen they could plug in, maybe 10 come playoff time if you count Zach Trotman, right? It's going to be crazy. Sharp Edge, that's it, Medina, thank you so much. Am I confident in DeSmith? Sure. I don't necessarily see why I wouldn't be. He's a wonderfully capable backup. He's prone to streaks of fantastic play. He's also prone to some loose play, like every other backup goaltender in the NHL. I'd put him comfortably in the middle of the pack. That's just comfortable. I think if you really pushed DeSmith and if the Penguins need to call on him in the playoffs, yeah, I think he would do just fine. And I think the Penguins would absolutely make sure to take care of him too. They would give him that 2016 Matt Murray treatment when they really buckled down and protected hard. So by proxy, DeSmith would look great. And yeah, so really, DeSmith is a capable backup, and I don't know quite what else to say. He's good, and I think he's a lot better than maybe a lot of us gave him credit for a year ago. What do I think about the winning streak against the Blue Jackets? Just luck or deeper than that? It's deeper than that. Stingy Cam. Here's why the Penguins have been beating the Blue Jackets. Because the Penguins are better. Not just that, however. It's because the Blue Jackets see the Penguins as their big brother, and they bring their hate game, they bring their A game, and they raise the Penguins' ire. The best thing Columbus could do, actually, would be to let the Penguins sleep. And, as we've seen, New Jersey and Carolina have had success by not rankling the Penguins' shorts. Columbus intentionally rankles their shorts, and then the Penguins get mad and beat them. And the Penguins are better. The Penguins have much better depth down the middle. Duchesne is trying to find himself in Columbus. Boy, that looks like Brassard Part 2, doesn't it? I think if those of you who have known me a long time, you've been with me since the radio days and the early days of the website, etc., you know that I dig John Tortorella and what he's doing with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Jarmo Kekalainen went needlessly all in. They've got nothing to show for the draft, and they are screwed. I don't know if they make the playoffs. They're going to have to beat Montreal to make the playoffs. If they don't do that, they will have given away a draft and a generation of talent for nothing. They will have an empty cupboard next year. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Wenberg, Seth Jones, Cam Atkinson, Josh Anderson, and what? It's going to be really difficult. And I don't think Columbus is a place that free agents are circling, because Columbus won't be a Stanley Cup contender. As a Cup contender, Columbus could make a good pitch to a free agent, couldn't they? Columbus could say, hey, come here and we've got a real chance to win. With an empty cupboard, and I've talked to a few players back in the day and even somewhat recently, Columbus is just, it's not a desirable destination for whatever reason. Small town, I don't know. It's nothing to do with torts of the organization. Certainly not anything to do with the fans, and they make a great atmosphere there in Columbus. It's just not, I don't know, maybe it's not because it's so untraditional, but they're going to be such trouble. No Panarin, no Bobrovsky, no Duchesne, no Dzingel. Good Lord, and Werenski has taken such a step back that I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, Weekake, and you are correct. Our entire trade deadline was based on the Stadium Series game. That and the San Jose Sharks game. The Penguins, Jim Rutherford did a very good job. He did an extraordinarily good job getting out from under Derek Brassard. I mean, think about this. Florida, at the trade deadline, got a third-round pick for Brassard. Jim Rutherford, for Sheahan and Brassard, got Nick Bjugstad and Jared McCann. Just put that in your pocket and go home and call yourself a winner. I heard that Murray now has a .931 save percentage since the start of December. I think Mackey tweeted that out late last night. Since mid-December, I think December 15th. I think he was comparing Jimmy Howard and Murray since that date when Murray came back from his quasi-mysterious injury in which he just kind of took some time, retooled, and healed up. Keaton wants to know my overall thoughts on Simone giving most media and fans alike only look at his apparent numbers, goals, and not his stellar underlying stats. Yeah, Keaton, I wrote about this several times in the first part of the season. There is just a spike with Simone. His Corsi, his lines, Corsi, his lines, scoring chances, his lines output goes up, even if his doesn't. Take it for what you will. He makes things happen, or actually, he's the guy who helps make things happen, so he'll never quite get the credit. Yeah, if the Jackets miss the playoffs, they've only got a 3rd and a 7th round pick. Columbus has a nice zoo. You're right, Joey. I always think of the line in Rocky. Completely politically incorrect, and I'm not going to say it, but it still cracks me up to this day, 40 years later. Ascension Roman Catholic Church, if you ever feel like going, by far the best he's ever been to. Where is Ascension? Mutation. And what team do I think will win the Joel Quenneville sweepstakes? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know that Quenneville will coach next year. He has had, think about this. He's had a run like few coaches. And when you take a step back, he's, how old is Quenneville? 57, 58, 59? One of the all-time winningest coaches. He's made his money. He's won how many Stanley Cups? At least 3. I've got to think life is enjoyable for him right now. The same thing happened to Bill Cowher. Everyone's like, okay, where's Bill Cowher going next? And when you're not sleeping in your office 3 or 4 nights a week, when you're actually having a family life and friends around and you go for dinner and then go home. You don't go to dinner at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night after a mentally exhausting game. It's pretty addicting. It's pretty addictive. I get those, which one, is it addicting or is it addictive? Regardless. I don't know that Quenneville will jump back in. He certainly had opportunities during this season. If I had to guess, if I were him, I don't know, will Vancouver's gig be open in the summer? Perhaps. I don't think he wants to rebuild in L.A., nor do I think he wants to oversee the destruction of Anaheim. If Dallas flames out, that job could be open, because I think Dallas might clean house. I know Montgomery is a newbie on the bench, but if Jim Nill gets the axe as the GM down there, new GM might want his own coach, might bring in Quenneville for that veteran roster. I'm kind of circling around the league here. Philadelphia is the kind of team that would beg to bring him in, even though I think they've Scott Gordon has done a pretty good job. I don't know. You know who will make the final call? Joel Quenneville. Will McCann end the year with 40 points? I don't know, Michael. How many points does McCann have now? I haven't even looked. Oh, yeah, Quenneville is 60. He has no reason to get back in. Now, we talked with Michael Therrien a few weeks ago when he was in Pittsburgh. Jeff Hathorn, me, and Jonathan Bomboli had a chat with him before a charity game. Therrien would love to get back behind the bench. He's kind of he's off the carousel, though, so he's going to have to kind of kick the door in a little bit. But I don't know, maybe Florida, because I think the Panthers have underachieved as well with Bob Bugner. They're in a great division, is Florida, but I think they've well underachieved with the top 6 that they've got. Oh, my. Amanda wants, boy, you guys are taking me long today. It's 1:10. We're an hour 10 into this, and I'm still going. But what the hell? Hey, you want to hang out? I'll hang out. We have to cap it at like an hour 45, though, okay? Prediction for how the Metro will end up and what the playoff matchups will look like. Who is the odd man out? The odd man out is Columbus or Montreal. I think the Penguins will decide which of the odd, if the Penguins take out Columbus Saturday, it's going to be that's going to be a kidney punch. Actually, it's going to be a punch right to the below the belt that Columbus is going to feel. They're going to ache Sunday morning if the Penguins beat them in regulation Saturday night in Columbus. I don't know if they recover from that. That's one of those tough ones. Now, if Columbus wins tomorrow night over the Penguins, I'd say Montreal. I don't know how much longer the Canadiens can keep it up, but they've come this far. Why not finish it, right? Okay, Ascension is by Crafton Heights. That sounds like I have to take a bus or a car. I'm out. I'm sorry. Oh, if y'all want to deliver some food to the studio, I'm cool with that too. Come on in. We'll pull up a seat and chat some hockey. Would Babcock be on the hot seat in a first-round exit? No. Here is why. This was the first year on the Lou Lamoriello, Brendan Shanahan calendar in which Toronto was supposed to win. There are some things going on with the young players, Babcock and Matthews. Today's Friday? So it was Tuesday night that Babcock skipped Matthews on a couple shifts and then dropped him to the fourth line. You know what? You may see an Austin Matthews trade. How would that look, huh? But this is the first year in which Toronto was supposed to win, and they're going to have a ridiculous matchup in the first round. So I don't think that will be held on Mike Babcock. He's trying to pull cats together with all these young kids. So it's still going to be really tough. Okay, I'm trying to catch up on the conversation on the message board here. Bear with me. Do I think the Penguins could catch up to the Capitals and Islanders? Are they 4 points back or 6? I think it's only 4. I don't have the standings. Actually, let me see if I can pull up the standings here quickly. If it's 4 points, yes. Yes, they can. If it's 6 points, I would say no. There's just those loser points just make it so tough to gain ground. Penguins are 4 back of Islanders and Capitals. Yes. I think they've got some games against each, right? Let me check the Penguins' schedule to see. Let me see what they've got coming up. Yeah, they do have the Capitals coming up on Tuesday. So they certainly could catch them with a win. Hurricanes, Preds, Rangers, Red Wings. It'll be tough to catch the Islanders without any head-to-head games. But I think they could catch the Capitals. Let me see here. What else you got for me? Fire away. How many more losses do the Blue Jackets have before they were out of the running? That depends more on... that depends as much on Montreal. I think they're only a couple points back of the Canadiens, are they not? No, I don't think the Pens will hire Matt Cullen when he retires. I do think that Cullen is going to get bored out of his mind. Look, Gary Roberts couldn't step away. And Matt Cullen has that same kind of physical regimen. Cullen's going to be something in hockey. I could see him coaching high school hockey in Minnesota. I could see him getting involved maybe at the collegiate level, at least while his boys are young. I think at this point, if Cullen's kids were really young or much older, like if he were 42 and say had a 21-year-old, I mean, who would ever have one of those at 42? I think it might be a different story with Cullen retiring. I don't think he would be. But with kids who are, what are they, 10, 11 years old, 12, he wants to be there for their career now, their hockey, their school stuff. So I don't think he hops on staff right away. Marty Schottenheimer. I don't mean to jump into football here. Marty Schottenheimer used to have a rule, and he enforced it on Bill Cowher way back in the day too. Guys he saw as potential coaches, he made them sit out 1 year. He didn't want them coming back as a coach with all that emotion and still thinking like a player. He wanted them to clear their head for a year, and that might be actually a pretty good rule. Joey Bag of Donuts, so nice to take a break from, who is Antonio Brune? How do you pronounce that? I don't know who you're talking about. I'm sorry. Will we see DeSmith this weekend? I think you'll see him Sunday. I don't think you want to run Matt Murray into the ground right now. I think Matt Murray definitely starts Saturday against Columbus. That's you throw your best punch. Jack Johnson used the term knockout yesterday. Yeah, if we can knock them out, that's the goal, right? So I think the Penguins are going to get their haunches up. They're going to get on their toes. And they're going to go after Columbus Saturday night, knowing full well they have a chance to deliver that knockout punch. And we've seen one thing. When the Penguins are engaged, they do have a killer instinct. How many jerseys do I see the Penguins retiring in 8 to 10 years? Man, you all are throwing some cool questions at me. Let's see. Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Marc-Andre Fleury. In 10 years, Matt Murray will still be playing. Jake Gensel will still be playing. I don't know if Gensel will ever get to jersey retirement stage anyway. I don't think you retire Patrick Hornquist's jersey, but you certainly put him in the Ring of Honor. Maybe that's what the Penguins do, except for Malkin and Crosby. They put everyone else in the Ring of Honor. Because, well, not even Jágr's number is retired yet. I mean, if the Penguins start retiring numbers, they're going to put 6 up in the rafters pretty quickly, which I think would be pretty cool. I don't want to see a Penguin ever wear 68 again. Certainly not 87, 71. I think it would be odd if a Penguin wore 58. I think it would also be odd if a Penguins goalie ever wore 29 again. But that's maybe where the line is. Maybe the line is just above Marc-Andre. He doesn't get his number retired. Maybe that's where it is. So that's my 2 cents on that. See? Any chance the Penguins make a change in the front office with Guerin screwing up with Wilkes-Barre and the Hagelin trade back nonsense? What makes you think he's screwed up with Wilkes-Barre? Now, Tom Fitzgerald had a great pipeline into the collegiate world, and you saw that New Jersey, they got Will Butcher. I don't know that Bill Guerin has screwed up in Wilkes-Barre. They've had no draft picks, and they've not acquired any prospects back in a trade. So how do I know some things. I don't know how to say what I know, and I don't know if I can repeat what I know. So what I can say about what I know and what I can't repeat is, if Bill Guerin were offered a GM job, I think he would go running towards it. That much is for certain, right? We both definitely know he wants to be a general manager in hockey. I think if Billy Guerin were the GM of the Penguins over the past 12 months, I think a few different decisions would have been made. how much of a space there is between the two, he and Rutherford. I don't think it's anything unprofessional. I don't think it's anything substantial or worrisome. I think Guerin's had some different opinions, and that's probably where it goes from there. I don't know that Guerin is screwed up, to be quite honest. Let's see here. Good nickname for Goodbranson and Pedersen. How about holy crap, these guys can play? Ask the fans of Wheeling how they feel about Guerin. Respectfully, the ECHL is generally not a concern to the NHL clubs. The ECHL is for your odd or your rare guy who climbs out of the sewer and goaltenders. Oh, and broadcasters too. Other than that, the ECHL it's for the fans of small towns to enjoy hockey at an affordable price. And it's a glorious experience if you go to a game or if you work in the game and all of that. But I can assure you the Penguins aren't going, Bill, the Wheeling Nailers aren't so great. I would be surprised if they did that anyway. Oh, Guerin screwed up with the veteran limit, had to trade a number of players away because he signed too many of them. I am unfamiliar with this story down in Wilkes-Barre. I'll have to dig into it. Thank you, Stex11. I will I will dive into this and see what went on down there. We've got some folks who talk to us in Wilkes-Barre. Is Torts gone after this season if they don't make the playoffs or exit in the first round? 50-50? I think Kekalainen might make a bit of a scapegoat out of Torts, but I don't think he should. How's that? If I were the GM, I would not fire John Tortorella. Oli Mata is so bad. Oli Mata is so... Come on, Jay. Okay, kids. I've done an hour 22. It's now almost 2:30. I'm going to call this a day. This is a lot to put on the server. And do me a favor, though, before we go. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Spread the word about Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Spread the word about these chats that we do. Let me tell you something about our business. I think I mentioned it an hour ago, that in fact, Pittsburgh Hockey Now we're on March 8th, and because Shelly is cranking out content, Michael Doomer is also chipping in some cool stuff. We have already surpassed last March's traffic. And quite frankly, the goal is, what's happening right now is we're getting this monster traffic, but our name recognition, it hasn't caught up yet. And so when we approach potential sponsors, they're like, "Who are you guys?" So we're having there's a barrier right now where there's not enough local businesses who want to slap their ads on our website, even though I will give them a better value than my 4 other competitors, because I'm pulling more traffic, more uniques. I did it again. But because I guess I own Pittsburgh Hockey Now. It is my baby. But we are pulling more than everybody else, except the 2 newspapers. And even one of them we might be beating now. Holy cow. So spread the word. And if you work for a small business that should advertise, a local business, do me a favor. Drop a note to your boss. Say, hey, these guys will deliver 500,000 eyeballs, sets of eyeballs to you. And I don't know how many other hockey reporters or how much other hockey coverage can promise that. We'll give you 500,000, and we're not going to charge you an arm and a leg. So that will just about do it for us. I want to thank everyone for dialing on onto this live chat. Craziness that we went from 1 to 2:30 like we have. I appreciate all of the chats here. So we'll do this again. Is Monday too soon? We'll think about it. We'll see how the news cycle goes. Maybe Monday. Maybe next Tuesday or Wednesday we'll do another live chat. In the meantime, look for some Penguins quickies. And check out Pittsburgh Hockey Now. I'm Dan Kingerski. We'll talk again soon, kids.